Good morning. Welcome to another edition of Take 5. Hopefully the audio is coming out good. It's not looking like the video is recording very well today, but it is May 26, 2011. We're in Matthew chapter 22. Have a fascinating passage today. Verse 15. Then the Pharisees went and plotted how to entangle him in his words, and they sent their disciples to him along with the Herodians, saying, Teacher, we know that you are true and teach the way of God truthfully, and you do not care about anyone's opinion, for you are not swayed by appearances. Tell us then, what you think. Is it lawful to pay taxes to Caesar or not? But Jesus, aware of their malice, said, Why put me to the test, you hypocrites? Show me the coin for the tax. And they brought him a denarius. And Jesus said to them, Whose likeness and inscription is this? They said, Caesar's. Then he said to them, Therefore render to Caesar the things that are Caesar's, and to God the things that are God's. When they heard it, they marveled, and they left him and went away. Now, we already dealt with this issue back in chapter 17, and that time they wanted a tax from him. Jesus told Peter, one of the disciples, to go cast a line into the lake and pull out a fish, and they'd have a coin and give it to him. So he dealt with this once, but now here they come again. And look, the Pharisees send their disciples, and they also send some disciples of the Herodians. And the reason they do this, they're trying to trap Jesus, see. Now remember, the Pharisees, they're the main bad guys we've been seeing all along. They're the religious, prideful leaders. But the Herodians, they're more on the side of Rome and the Roman government, because Herod was the king appointed by Caesar to look out for that area there. So Herod was the king over that area, but really a puppet of Rome. So you've got both political sides of the coin, so to speak, joining up to try to trap Jesus, knowing he's not going to be able to please both of them. So they want to get him in trouble. So they show up, and they also know Jesus is a friend of tax collectors. So he's got some of these Roman sympathizers as part of his disciples. So they come to him, and they fluff him up and flatter him and tell him all kinds of stuff they don't really believe, but they try to make a good impression, saying, we know you're a man of God, and you don't really care what people think, and that kind of stuff. So they said, what do you think about paying taxes? Now see, the Pharisees would say we shouldn't have to pay taxes because everything is God's. We shouldn't have to pay to a false god or a false government. The Herodians would say, yes, you should pay taxes because they worked for the Roman government. So Jesus doesn't get into any of that. He doesn't try to solve the political debate between the two sides. And I would say there's a lesson to learn for us there too. Well, I believe it is certainly our privilege as Americans, and this is an American broadcast, to vote and to get involved in that sort of thing. You don't want to take it too far, and you really don't want to get into a lot of arguments with people. That's not our primary purpose here. So anyway, just something to think about. You can disagree, and that's fine. But anyway, he took a coin. Now, if you look at our coin, this is an American coin, and you probably can't see it on the camera. But if you look close, it's got this is a quarter. It's got George Washington's head, and then it says, "In God we trust." Now that's interesting. Our coin says, "In God we trust." Their coin had Caesar on it. So Jesus says, "Look, whose picture's on the coin?" They said Caesar. He says, "Okay, well then it makes it pretty simple, doesn't it? You give to Caesar what's Caesar's. You give to God what's God's." Now, the only point there is here's a point I got to make to you. You got to pay your taxes, okay? Jesus said you got to pay your taxes. Whether you agree with Caesar or don't agree with Caesar, whether you agree with President Obama or you don't agree, whether you agree with our Congress or our policies or our country, you got to pay your taxes. And I found this out the hard way because I didn't pay enough apparently in 2009. So last week I got a letter saying you put this much in the mail by the day after tomorrow or something like that, or you're going to be in trouble. So, listen, if you want to stay out of trouble, pay your taxes. They will get you. Remember Al Capone, famous gangster? You know how they got him? Taxes. He didn't pay his taxes. If he'd paid his taxes, he probably would have got away with everything. So, don't test Jesus. Don't get involved in politics too much that you're getting people upset. But the main lesson today, and it's a biblical lesson, pay your taxes. Got it? I hope you do. Come back tomorrow for the next edition of Take 5.